So, recently I have been on a bit of a horror video game kick. I just barely beat a video game. I've been in the Resident Evil franchise for a while now. I just barely beat Resident Evil 4, the remake, for the third time. And I have to say, from this video game that I just finished, which is Resident Evil 3, there is one question that really resides in my mind that I need answered. So, is Resident Evil 3 better than Resident Evil 4? You guys are gonna have to watch the video and see if the answer that I give is acceptable or not, because I think Resident Evil 3 is pretty freaking cool.
Say what?
I have to say I am pretty new to the Resident Evil franchise. I started off the franchise playing Resident Evil 8 Village, then I kind of went backwards. I then played Resident Evil Biohazard, then I played Resident Evil 4, then I played Resident Evil 2. I just haven't been following the story. But Resident Evil 3 is insane. The way that it opens up is so beautiful, guys. It feels like you're watching a movie. You got the riots on the streets, there's police everywhere, there's things on fire, there's speeches given, there's news reporters telling about what's happening, and what this is the cause of is the people that released the T-virus into Raccoon City, the great and noble Umbrella Corporation, which you see an ad for in the beginning of the game of Resident Evil 3. After we get this great opening, we get this semi-playable scene. It's really cool. It's like you're the first-person view. The person that you're playing as gets out of bed. And I think it's awesome. It's in black and white, but you get to walk around the apartment, you get to flip on switches, just explore what they're reading, see what's in the fridge, things like that. But eventually, to continue the game, you go into the bathroom, and you're playing as Jill Valentine. And it's pretty awesome. It's amazing, but it's terrifying at the same time, because she turns on the water to her faucet, and there's a drip of blood that falls into the water, and she looks up in the mirror, and she's turning into a freaking zombie. It's the best transition from a human to a zombie that I've seen this game do, and it's awesome because she ends up blowing her brains out, and that's how it starts off in real life. But just the dream playing it is awesome because you still get to be first person even though she's awake. What I love about this is that it does not take a break from the action. From the very beginning, we're probably 10 minutes into the game now, and it has not stopped just going hard with intenseness that's going on. Jill's exploring her apartment before she's gonna leave. She's attacked by this figure that we see a lot throughout the game. Its name is the Nemesis, but she is thrown against the wall, kicked against it. She's being strangled by her throat. She grabs a gun, she starts shooting at it. It does nothing. Eventually she escapes, and it's really fun to be able to just run through the hallways of the apartment while she's being chased by the Nemesis. She's barricading her ways through different doors to keep the Nemesis from getting her. It's really cool. That part was fun. It was fun just escaping it. What I thought was cool is that after Jill escapes the Nemesis from her building, she makes it to the streets below, and it's kind of devastating, honestly, to see what the affected people have done to Raccoon City when they become zombies, the people they killed. The city is just trashed. There's destroyed cars and everything. Eventually, Jill runs into her friend, and they run away from the zombies together. He, like, gives her a chance to escape. He gets bitten. She, gets to the roof of this one building or parking garage or whatever. But eventually the Nemesis does find her again. And I love that she finds this car. She takes the body out and, like, she says to the body, "I'm sorry." And she pulls it out, and when I say it's like a movie watching a movie, it's like watching a movie. Because it feels like you're just first person. Like, it has buttons for Jill to start the car, to start revving it up, and she rams the Nemesis with the car, and you drive the car off the roof with the Nemesis hanging onto the hood of the car. It is so much fun. I loved it. Just like the cutscenes of Resident Evil 3 are amazing. That and the gameplay. So far, I love this game. So eventually, after one of her escapes from the Nemesis, Jill runs into the other protagonist of the game, Carlos, and he takes you to this small group of survivors, and their leader is like, "Yeah, we need to evacuate the city as soon as possible. How many people are infected? We need to get out of here." And Jill's like, "Alright, what can I do to help?" So Jill gets sent on this mission to, like, go through the streets and stuff, shooting up these zombies, and she's just trying to restore power to the city, to get the trains moving, and just to evacuate the city. It's fun to explore Raccoon City, how it's destroyed, but the graphics to it are so cool. It's like how I would actually feel if I was in Raccoon City after the T-virus hit. It was pretty cool. One thing I love about Resident Evil 3, besides the cutscenes and the gameplay, is that there are parts when it doesn't feel like it's the Resident Evil franchise. Like, it feels like Capcom took from Nintendo. Like, there's parts where it feels like you're part of Metroid, because there's this scene where, this gameplay where Jill has to, like, turn on these generators, but she's going through this maze thing that's just been overgrown with parasites, and there's these parasites that they literally look like these aliens, like something you would see from Metroid, and, if Jill gets attacked by them, they'll, like, leech onto her, shoot a tube into her throat, and inject these parasites. To get rid of it, Jill has to eat these green plants, which she'll puke up the parasites. It's pretty gross, but it's really what would be realistic, the only probable outcome for it. Like, what she would have to do to get rid of the parasites would to be eat something to make her puke. It's disgusting, but it just feels like, at this point, like an alien hunting part. I'm not complaining about it. I thought it was awesome. It was super fun to go on, like, this alien hunting while you're completing the mission. It was super cool. The farther you get into the game, the more, like, evolved the zombies become. Like, it's what the Nemesis is doing to the zombies, but they're becoming like these... Their heads are becoming like these scorpion cyclops creatures. They're really freaky. Like, also, I did not figure out how to kill them. I tried to avoid them as best I could, because they would, like, make a shell around their eyes so Jill couldn't shoot them. Also, they had this, like, tentacle thing that would attack Jill. It was hard to defeat him, but very creepy, very Metroid-esque, very Halloween-y, and I loved it. Very creepy, very Resident Evil, just amazing. I will say there are parts to this game that I didn't like the puzzles, they were stupid, like how to restore power to the trains was pretty dumb. Like, I was very confused on it. Like, I probably spent like 10 minutes on the train thing trying to understand how to connect the stations to actually, like, boost up the power to the trains. It took a while, but I ended up looking like that. Super easy to figure out. Just, I'm not the smartest guy, so it did take me a while to understand the puzzle for that, how to come up with a solution. Other than that, it was amazing. So eventually Jill has another run-in with the Nemesis where she's just running away from him, trying to distract the Nemesis from Carlos, while him and the others are trying to get everyone on the train to evacuate the city. And she eventually ends up running into the sewer. And this was creepy, dude. Like, Jill's going through the sewer tunnels, and like I don't know what you call them. They're like oversized tadpoles is the best way I can say to describe them. But the first one that I saw that came out of the tunnel, out of like the tube of the tunnel, I'm like, oh, hell no! And I went the other way when there was another way that I could go through the tunnels, but there was another monster that came out, and I didn't know that they were gonna kill Jill, so the other one stretched out its mouth, and it has like these prod things, like it's basically another hand that comes out of its mouth. It grabs Jill, and it's the worst way for Jill to die in the game. Like, it crushes her up, it like folds her in half, makes her super tiny before she gets swallowed. But you can hear the crunching of the bones and her body breaking. Through the controller, like it comes out through the controller. It is, it's so lifelike. It's honestly kind of disturbing. But another cool thing of the game. So after getting out of the sewers, Jill has another run-in with the Nemesis, and this time it has like a rocket launcher thing. So Jill's running through the alley while she's avoiding the rocket launchers that the Nemesis is shooting. Eventually it leads to a giant burning building, which again feels like an action movie. It's super fun for Jill to be climbing to the top, like grabbing these boards and everything to cross these giant gaps in the building. Jill is jacked. She's like a female bodybuilder. But like she gets to the roof eventually and has a showdown with the Nemesis, which was really fun in my opinion. The very first fight on the roof is really fun. There's explosions everywhere, everything's on fire. You definitely feel like it's a matter of life or death when you fight the Nemesis. Super cool. So after the very first fight with the Nemesis on the roof, the group that Jill's with decide to take the train to get out of Raccoon City while they still can, because they got the power up and everything. And unfortunately, this is when stuff goes to shit, because when they're on the train, the Nemesis strikes again, and one of the guys is a complete asshole on the train, and they're trying to escape. He gets in behind one of the doors, and Jill's like, Nikolai, what are you doing? You have to get out of here! And Nikolai's just like, it's not after me. And he shuts the door, and one of the guys that the Nemesis has a hold of, he sets off a grenade so the train derails, and Jill gets knocked out. And then we get to the side of Carlos, which is really cool. Because his story is that they're going through the streets, and eventually they go to RPD, or Raccoon Police Department, and what's really cool is that it's the building that the entire thing of Resident Evil 2 takes place in. It's really cool when the doors first open, because you get behind the scenes of how, like, what was going on before Resident 2 occurred. Apparently Resident Evil 3, to play like the series right, you gotta play the first half of this, and then play Resident Evil 2, and then play the second half of Resident Evil 3 for this storyline to make sense. But it was super cool to be able to play as Carlos again, or for the first time to be able to explore the police station again. It'd be really cool if Carlos and Leon met, and like it was the story of the two of them going through the police department, kicking ass, killing the zombies. But it was cool to be able to play as Carlos going through the police department. I thought that was awesome. It was fun to explore it again.
Yeah. Welcome, Leon. Bet you had a kick ass first day.
After Carlos's story with the police department, we are back to playing as Jill Valentine, where she has another run-in with the Nemesis. It's the second boss fight. I do wish there were... It feels like Resident Evil 7, where all the boss fights were Jack until the very end. But anyway, this is the second boss fight with the Nemesis. After you beat him, Jill is like being drugged toward it, and it's awesome, like she shoots the chain gate, falls, it cuts the Nemesis arm off, and she ends up getting infected because the Nemesis shoots her with part of its body. Anyway, like, it's kind of cool how the game is split up into times. Eventually, Carlos finds Jill. He takes her to this hospital where he's trying to find the cure inside the hospital. It's really cool to be able to see this, play as Carlos, to explore this destroyed hospital, to shoot up zombies. And there's these lizards throughout the game that'll kill you. If they get like this lucky shot in, they'll slice your throat. Even if you have more health, like... It can be a one-hit kill sometimes if they're lucky enough. Anyway, eventually, Carlos is able to get the cure and to save Jill's life. But it was cool to play as Carlos in the hospital because it was creepy. It was so entertaining. Alright, we're on the final phases of the game. Carlos is off again doing his own thing. I think he goes after Nikolai at this point. But Jill, she goes to this lab which is called Nest 2, which is where Umbrella made the T-Virus, and Jill goes there to be able to create the cure for the T-Virus. It's kind of cool. What I love about Resident Evil is that it has so many locations in it. Like, this one had the abandoned city, it has the destroyed hospital, it has the lab, it had the sewers. Anyway, it's awesome to be able to explore the lab, because there's this part where Jill goes into this area where it has, like, these Nemesises in tubes and the lizards that I was talking about earlier that Carlos fights in the hospital there in tubes. And it's just cool. It's like so immersive. Like, the game is in third person, so you're just controlling Jill throughout the game. But it honestly felt like I was in there in Nest 2. That's just the music for it as I was going through the laboratory. It made it such a real experience. I loved it. Really fun. So eventually, after making the cure from the lab, Jill has another run-in with the Nemesis. This is their last fight. And Jill actually says this to the Nemesis. She's just like, just so you know, this is the last one. And so he's just this giant mutated creature at this point. To fight him, Jill just has to shoot basically the hearts around his body. Once that's done, he's weakened to the point where you can use these plasma capsules you load back in. So this railgun has energy. Eventually, Jill can use the railgun to just blast the creature apart. And it's awesome, like, what she says. She puts it in the Nemesis's mouth, and she's like, "Don't come back!" And she shoots it, blasts it apart, she gets sent flying backwards, blood rains down on her. It's a great scene. And then they go after Nikolai. I do kind of wish there was more of an intense feeling to the fight with Nikolai. It's not even really a fight. All it is like Jill and Nikolai talking. Nikolai ends up destroying the cure. Carlos grabs Nikolai, tells you to shoot him. You shoot him. And, like, Carlos and Jill get on the helicopter. Nikolai's not dead, though. He's like, wait, don't you want to know who hired me to take you guys out and to let Raccoon City be destroyed? And Jill's just like, I can use a little detective work. And they take off, and basically that's the end of the game. Like, I like the way that it's like on a cliffhanger like that, so mysterious who Nikolai was working for. I'm pretty sure it was a Wesker, but I don't know. Anyway, Raccoon City is destroyed, and yeah, I was a little disappointed the way it ended, but overall, it was really fun. Okay, that is Resident Evil 3. Really fun game, super fun. Puzzles, not so much fun. That's the only thing I didn't appreciate it. Also, the ending was kind of lame. But if I would have to grade this game, I would give it a solid 9.2 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I would give Resident Evil 4, I'd probably give it like a 9.8 out of 10. Just the puzzles. I don't like the puzzles in Resident Evil. They're easy, but I just don't like them. Anyway, I definitely give Resident Evil 3 a passing grade. Alright, that is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, of me giving video game summaries and reviews, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you guys later.